Imagine a country that claims to have 1.4 billion people, but deep down, even that number is a huge lie. Now, imagine that every single one of them acts like the main character in a video game where everyone else is just an NPC to be used, exploited, or ignored. Behind the fake statistics, the propaganda, the glittering skyscrapers, what you actually have is a society built on radical selfishness, where every person is just trying to survive and get ahead at the expense of everyone else. Welcome to modern China. Here, I'm not talking about Chinese as a race or nationality. I'm talking about moral Chinese, meaning a state of being defined by radical egoism or selfishness. A society where altruism isn't just rare, it's dangerous. Where helping your neighbor is not seen as noble, it's seen as stupid. And here's the terrifying part. This isn't just a cultural quirk. It is the result of decades of deliberate social engineering, a rewiring of the human brain by the Communist Party. By the way, I'm doing this video in response to a question from one of my channel members. They asked, Can all the Chinese I have met are extremely selfish people who don't seem to have any spirit for cooperation. Can you make a video explaining why this is the case? So, okay. If you join as a member, you get special perks like this, where I create entire videos answering your questions directly. So if you want to shape the content on this channel, consider joining. Now, let's dive deeper, because we're going to talk about why this level of extreme selfishness isn't just toxic. It is a recipe for total societal collapse. Back when I lived in Beijing, I was constantly shocked by daily life. The subway, total chaos. Everyone, just shoving like their lives depended on it. Standing online, forget it. You need elbows, sharper than a UFC fighter. One time, an old lady literally ran over my foot with a suitcase just to squeeze in front of me. And you know what the guy behind me did? He smiled. Smiled. Like, wow, nice move, Grandma. At first, I thought, okay, maybe it's just crowded cities, right? China is big. Cultural differences, whatever. But the longer I lived there, the more I realized this is systemic. It's not just rudeness. It's survival logic. Now, most humans live somewhere on a spectrum, right? Between self-interest and altruism. We all care about ourselves, but we also care about others. That's how communities work. But in China, that balance is shattered. What you see instead is just radical egoism. A society where altruism is almost zero, and selfishness is the only rational behavior. This is why you see lion cutting like it's an Olympic sport. Parents sabotaging other kids to get their own kid ahead in school. Businesses treating customers, partners, and even family members. It's just a giant game of mutual destruction where nobody in China believes anybody else and everyone assumes betrayal is inevitable. Now, here's where it gets freaky. Science has shown that humans are biologically wired for empathy and cooperation. We have mirror neurons and fusiform cells, the same neurological hardware that's a mother care for the baby or a stranger feel compassion for someone in pain. And even animals have this. Rats, monkeys, dolphins, they all show basic altruism. And it's an evolutionary superpower. Why did nature give us this wiring? Because cooperation isn't some touchy-feely moral idea. It's survival strategy. Take hunter-gatherers, tribes. If a tribe goes out to hunt for meat, everyone has to work together. If too many people decide to free ride, right, to sit back, save energy, and let others do the work, the hunt fails. No meat. Everyone starves. Same with lions. When they hunt, they coordinate. One group chases, other ambushes, and if too many lions just hang back, thinking, why risk injury that the others hunt? If they do that, the prey escapes, and nobody eats. So cooperation evolved because freeloading and being totally selfish destroys the group. Species that didn't figure this out go extinct. Now, humans took cooperation to a new level, right? We have villages, cities. All of it depends on trust, on the belief that if I work for the group today, the group will protect me tomorrow. But in China, these systems are being switched off. Not because people are born with it defective, but because decades of political oppression have rewired the brain. Generations raised in a culture of fear and betrayal literally just learned to suppress empathy. Let's rewind to 1949, when the Communist Party took power. They didn't just want control of the economy or the military. They wanted control of the human heart. So they went to work destroying trust in Chinese society. Villagers were forced to denounce their neighbors. Children were rewarded for reporting their own parents. Traditional communities, churches, all crushed. And the message was clear. If you trust anyone but the party, you're dead. And over time, this created a society where helping others became dangerous. If you stack your neck out for someone else's justice, you didn't just risk betrayal, you risked annihilation. And that is why, even today, you see someone collapse on the street in China and nobody helps. Not because people are born heartless, but because everyone knows the horror stories. The good Samaritan who helped an old lady up only to be sued later for her hospital bills. accused of causing the accident. The kind stranger who stopped to help a victim and was framed as an attacker. In a society like that, kindness becomes self-destructive. And now, even large-scale altruism is poisoned. After natural disasters, people stopped donating to the Chinese Red Cross. Why? Because they discovered that insiders were siphoning off the donations, buying luxury cars and houses instead of helping victims. Why give when you know your money will just feed another corrupt official? The result? Charities collapse, disaster victims suffer, and people retreat deeper into selfishness. And here's the scary part. The more people live in this environment, the deeper the rewiring goes. Parents teach their kids, schools reward cutthroat competition, and every betrayal reinforces the lesson. Care only about yourself or you won't survive. And over decades, this creates a feedback loop. And the neural pathways for empathy just go atrophy. Selfish behaviors get locked in. And some scientists even warn that this could eventually become genetic, a permanent moral mutation passed down like a biological curse. Think about that. A civilization breeding itself into extinction, morally. And you see it everywhere. Education becomes a war zone where students sabotage each other instead of collaborating. Workplaces devolve into toxic pits of backstabbing. Politics, pure corruption. No public service, just self-service. And on a national level, this has catastrophic effects. China faces a collapsing population, a slowing economy, and a hostile world. Exactly the kind of challenges that require cooperation and trust. But when every member is out for themselves, there's no way to adapt. The whole system becomes brittle, and eventually it breaks. Historically, groups that failed to cooperate didn't just stagnate, they disappeared. Tribes, kingdoms, empires. Evolution doesn't care about GDP numbers. If you can't work together, you go extinct. China's leaders love to talk about great changes unseen in a century. 百年未有之大变局. But here's the real meaning. The change is extinction. And it's coming faster than they realize. Again, moral Chinese isn't about ethnicity. Anyone, anywhere who embraces this extreme egoism, this total lack of empathy, is on the same doomed path, and it can be called a moral Chinese. Because, the real threat isn't just China's collapse. It's what happens if other societies start following the same pattern. If we lose our capacity for trust and altruism, we all risk becoming Chinese in the moral sense. And then, like a collapsing star, civilization itself could implode. So the next time you see someone cutting in line, cheating in business, or betraying a friend for gain, remember this. It's not just the bad manners. it's a symptom of something far darker. Basically, a disease of the human spirit. So, China's tragedy isn't just about politics or economics, it's about what happens when an entire society loses the one thing that makes us human, the ability to care about someone other than ourselves.